Hey everybody, my name is Scary Spikes and welcome to another Star Citizen video. Today's video is going to be about the brand new Crusader Industries Starfighter Inferno. If you haven't seen the Ion video, I did that one last week and I'll post a link to it in the top right hand corner of the screen for you to go check out. The intro today is going to be just a little bit longer because we have quite a few people to thank today, and you're one of them, so please stick around if you haven't clicked away already. Now, first and foremost, just wanted to give a big shout out to our SIG mentors. SIGs are the special interest groups within our organization, and they help to categorize and organize things and also help folks find something to do in the game that they really enjoy and to find other people to play with that do the same things that they do. Now, of course, that wouldn't be what it is today without our SIG mentors, the folks that take a lot of time out of their schedule and out of their days to answer questions, coach, and, well, mentor other players that are in their individual SIGs. So far, those SIG mentors are Lamfada, Legend, and Jesse. Thank you guys so very much for taking the time out of your day and schedule to help your fellow community members. And I'm sure they very much appreciate it. Now, of course, I also want to thank you, the YouTube community, because, believe it or not, we are at 7,000 subs. That's crazy. We got this started in January, and honestly, I never thought that we would ever get to a number like this. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart for all of your support, for believing in what I do, and for coming back and checking out my videos weekly. We've hit over 52 videos this year now, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. So thank you all again so very much for all of your support. I'm truly grateful and blessed to have such an amazing community such as you, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come in the future. Thanks again. If you do find this video helpful, it really does help me out a lot if you let myself and YouTube know by leaving a like down below. Of course, you can also subscribe if you're new here and ring that bell so that you don't miss my future weekly uploads going forward. Of course, you can always join us on stream Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch, as well as our amazing Discord community. Links for those will be down below. And this intro is now complete. So thank you so much for sticking through it, and let's go ahead and get started with this video. The Inferno has quite a few many similarities with the Ion, in that it has a similar airframe and the fact that it's got one giant size 7 strapped to a pair of engines, and a few other things, but of course there are a couple of differences, notably the fact that there is a ballistic weapon mounted on the Inferno, whilst there is a laser weapon mounted on the Ion. So let's go ahead and explore this on the outside of the ship. Of course, we'll have an interior look as well, which shouldn't take too long, and then of course we'll go through and have a look and see how we can improve this thing over at Urkel Games, even though there's not a whole lot of work to be done. Let's go. Now, we can't start an exterior tour of the ship without of course talking about the big size 7 proprietary 3-barreled Gatling gun that comes stock on the Inferno. This thing looks really cool, and honestly it does a really good job at close to medium range, but it's honestly not for me. And before you react, let me give you my reasons. Just note that these reasons are completely subjective to me and my playstyle, and yours may differ, and that's totally okay. Let's have a discussion about it in the comments below and let me know why you like or dislike this weapon. In my opinion, it is a ballistic weapon, and that is sort of where I draw the line, at least the first of many lines. My first gripe with this weapon is the fact that it runs out of ammo, and I know that's absolutely silly to hear because of course they run out of ammo, they're ballistic weapons. And one of the nice things is that of course we have had a ammo bump. We went from about the mid 2000s to the high 3000s with ammo count on this thing ever since it was introduced into PTU, and we've been able to get it into our hands. But that being said though, it does definitely take away from my experience when I'm flying around, whether with some friends or as part of an org op, or maybe I'm just doing some solo bounty hunting and then I just run out of ammo. It just kind of sucks to be brought out of that whole losing yourself in the universe thing by having to return and get more ammo and then try and get back into it. It kind of ruins the experience for me, honestly, and until there's such a time where we can carry ammo internally in the little storage that we have on this thing, and of course on other ships that have ballistic weapons, or until we have such a time where we're able to get our friends to come with ships that can rearm us, I just don't think this is going to be viable, especially not for longer operations where you're facing off against a lot of enemies. It just doesn't really make any sense. One of my other gripes with this as well is, of course, the distance to target and the fact that it's not going to be nearly as accurate as the Ion. Now, of course it's not. This is ballistics, and it's a Gatling gun after all. It's a machine gun, oversized as it may be, compared to something that fires just gigantic laser beams like the Ion. Now, of course, the Ion, you can definitely start to hit things a lot further away, but that's because you have controlled bursts and they are relatively slow and high impact. So you're able to get more shots on target with the Ion and not so much with the Inferno. And the reason for that is because these shots actually do spread over distance. So in my testing, anything over 700 or 800 or up to even 1,000 kilometers is kind of okay. But honestly, this thing was meant to go up in front of an Idris and just punch it in the face. And that's what it does really, really well. But trying to do bounty hunting with this thing 2 or 3 kilometers away from your target, you're going to be wasting the majority of your ammo, which, keep in mind, you have to replace. So there's not just an element of missing your target most of the time and wasting ammo, but there's literally the fact that you're wasting ammo because you're having to replace ammo that you've wasted with new ammo that you will very likely continue to waste because you'll be off target unless you're right on the target, very, very close range. So that's my other big thing about this. Now, my last issue, of course, is the reliability, and I just don't know if this is something that I can rely on my day-to-day bounty hunting, especially with those 2 other things that I kind of complained about there. So that is just my outlook, and of course, this is really, really good. It does a wonderful job at close to medium range against something like a Hammerhead or an Idris. It absolutely devours shields, and at that range, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. But for anyone who's taking this thing out and doing some bounty hunting, even against medium to larger size ships, honestly, I would just go get the Ion because you'll waste a whole lot less of ammo and even more of your frustration. Let's go ahead and move on with the rest of the ship though, and as you'll notice then, we do have quite a bit of similarity here with the missile tubes on the port and starboard side of the ship here, very much like the Ion. One thing that I didn't mention in my Ion video is that these tubes actually get bigger and smaller and greater or smaller in number depending on the types and number of missiles that you have. So for example, these are size 3s and we have 4 of them. If you were to go down to size 2s, you would see much smaller tubes, but you would see double the amount. So that's really cool that they factored that in to the actual design of the chassis. One thing that I did mention in my Ion video as well is that I was taking some of my larger vehicles and basically using this thing as a ramp because look how low this thing is. And I do apologize about the red light here, but this is super, super low off the ground, and I just love how unbelievably sexy this thing looks and how super fast it looks. Just sitting and hanging out on the pad. It's pretty awesome. One of the things that I really, really like, and that's unfortunately something that we can't see very well in the night sky here over aerial, is the fact that this has a black paint job with red pinstriping and of course the white Crusader logo there. It just looks super, super sharp. We can see it on the landing gear even, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy a lot of these details much like I do. Getting into the nitty-gritty of this thing and just having a look at all the beautiful little details, colors, stickers, and all the other things that the developers put into the ship and many of the other newer ships that are coming out. It's just absolutely insane how much work has gone into this, and I just absolutely love it. Now, we, of course, did talk about the massive engines of the Ion, and those 2 can be found here, turned on this time on the Inferno, and these things are absolutely insane. These things can propel you to well over 1,100 meters per second from a standing stop, and that can happen within a matter of about 5 to 7 seconds, which is just absolutely nutty. I don't know if this is something that's going to change in the future, but so far, I've really enjoyed these. Because if you're getting into trouble, like let's say you run out of ammo and there's like 3 or 4 dudes on you, then you're probably going to want to get the hell out of Dodge, and these things will definitely help you do that. So it's definitely a positive, and I'm glad that this is one thing that is shared between 2 ships, because honestly, it's just really great to have that much power. Now, moving on towards the back here, we do have a couple of lights, and this is not something you were able to see in the Ion video, although they do make it a little bit more difficult to see the back end here. Giggity. We have a little bit of storage here, of course, as well. Not too much, but just a little bit of storage that you can put maybe an undersuit in and a few other personal items. And of course, down here, we do also have a weapon rack, which I can open up for you. And this is pretty cool to store a few weapons back here. And obviously, this is not something that is going to be like a massive gunship where you're going to have huge gun racks or anything, but it's just really nice to have that there. Now, if we get into the storage here, you can see exactly how much storage we have. You'll be able to see it right here where it says external. So this is the amount of storage here. It's not too much, but honestly, it's nice to be able to have something there that you can kind of put things away. So that is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and move around the other side of the ship where we're going to see largely the same things. Now, these things, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these look like they are chaff and flare launchers. And no, I'm not going to call it noise or whatever else it's called. I'm going to call it chaff and flare because I think that's what it should be called. But in any case, we've got some of those launchers back here, which I think is really cool. And just it's worked in really well in the design of the actual ship. I do also like the break in the wing here. I think that just looks pretty cool. And of course, we have the red pinstriping there and the honeycomb pattern. There's just so much to love and so much to see on this thing. It's just absolutely awesome. Now, the starboard side of the ship is going to be very much the same as the port side. We see that we do have a little bit of venting in here just under the wing. And of course, we do also have some venting here in between the edges of the wing and the missile racks. And same can be found on the port side. So that's going to be your exterior tour. Let's go ahead and jump into the cockpit and have a look inside. In order to jump in the cockpit, all you need to do is come over to the leading edge of the port side wing. You'll see that there is sort of like a little cutout here because this thing will come down and open up. Now, as I mentioned in the Ion video, when you do hit this, enter pilot seat, don't move your character after this because I found that there's a bug here where once you move your character after you hit this, your character won't automatically get into the seat and then you'll just have to do it again. So hold F to open your inner thought menu here and press on enter pilot seat with your left mouse button. And give it a few seconds here, and your character should climb into the pilot seat thusly. Okay, so we are in the pilot seat now, and honestly, there's not too much difference you'll see here. Now, of course, you will see some of the interior lighting, and of course, the MFDs that you weren't able to see in the Ion video as it was just on the show floor. But man, this is just absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and start from the left and work our way to the right. And the very first thing, of course, we have our thrust control here on the left-hand side. In the middle, of course, we do also have an ejection button, which is really quite nice to have. We have a nice stick right in the middle here. We have some MFDs over on the left-hand side, as well as some controls here. Of course, the radar is in the middle, which is a 3D radar, which is really quite nice. Another 2 MFDs on the right, followed by some controls down below, and then, of course, some more controls down here on the right hand side. And again, these are the physicalized controls that we first saw in the Mercury. So very cool that they are meeting those standards and bringing those controls over to all the other ships such as these, and of course also the Hercules lineup as well. Although again, I do wish that they removed the floating text because we do have labels and it just doesn't make any sense to have floating text anymore. Although I understand the floating text is something that is in many other ships that may not have labels or may not have easy to read labels as the ones in some of the newer ships like the Ares Starfighter do, and so I kind of understand the importance of having them around, but yes, alas, I will still complain about it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the outside and the inside. Now let's take a look under the hood, and we're going to be taking a look at the weapon as well as the missiles and components and go through all this together. Of course, you can follow along. There will be some links down below in the description, so you can go ahead and check them out. I'll include the default loadout, which you're seeing right now, and of course also my loadout, which will be the product of the rest of this video. So let's go ahead and go through that together. And the very first thing that you'll notice here is that unfortunately you do not have an option for your size 7 gun, and this is a decision that you'll need to make really pretty much at the beginning, whether you're in the market for an Ion or an Inferno. You'll need to make that decision before you actually acquire the ship, because unfortunately this is a integral part of the actual structure of the vessel, and as regarded to as by CIG in the past, unfortunately it's not something that you're going to be able to swap out. Now, it remains to be seen if this is something that will change in the future, but again, for now it seems like we won't be able to do that, so make that decision prior to purchasing and deciding to purchase your ship. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on, and because we're going to be a little bit more of a CQB fighter here, of course we're still going to be hunting larger and capital size ships, but we're going to be a little bit closer because we want to take full advantage of that Gatling gun and not waste a single bullet, which of course we'll have to pay to replace. So to complement that playstyle, I'm going to go ahead and choose the appropriate missile setup here, which will be a little bit different than in my Ion video. So let's go ahead and go with 582s for these. Now, unfortunately, the last one you're not going to be able to change, so this kind of has to stay. So for this, we're just going to go ahead and select Thunderbolts since they are quite a bit better. The arresters don't seem to work. And with the other cross-section missiles too, I'm not sure if you guys have had these issues in the past, but they're not working particularly well. And I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not able to get solid locks, and they're kind of finicky about which targets they end up locking up. So very, very interesting indeed. Hopefully that's fixed in another 0.1 or rather 0.2 patch or perhaps even in 316, although that will be yet a couple of months away. I digress. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and continue here. We're going to go ahead and select the Dominators. They'll do just a tad more damage than what were my favorite, the Strike Forces. Again, these are cross-section like the Arresters, and they're not doing a fantastic job at locking the majority of targets. So we're going to go ahead and select the Dominators. These guys are EMs, and they will work pretty much, well, they'll work better than the Strike Forces. Let's just say that. So this is what's going to be the setup here. We're going to have a total of, looks like 12 size 3 Thunderbolts, and we're going to have a total of 16 size 2 Dominators. That'll be a pretty nice package. We'll have a little bit of headroom there for distance that we can engage with the larger missiles. And then, of course, something for a little bit up close, which is also really nice. So let's go ahead and have a look at the shields here. Shields, just as well as all of the other components here, we can see that they are size 2, which is nice. And honestly, for the shields, I'm just going to go with the old FR76. I really quite like it. You may have to go to Cousin Crows to get these. You can also go into any of the specific modules here to see where to buy everything. So that's not something I'm going to go through here, but you can definitely find that information on Urkel. So go ahead and do that, and it'll show you exactly where to go. So we've got the shields down. The shields are pretty good, and we're going to move on to the power plants. This is interesting because I thought the JS400s went the way of the dodo, so to speak, and that they were sort of, they were just killed off. It seems like they're still available, just probably very hard to get. I have seen the quadricells a little bit more readily available, and the quadricells are a little bit cheaper. So we're going to go ahead and go with the quadricells here, and that is going to be that for power plants. Now, moving on, we do have 3 coolers here, and I know I said that this was an interesting choice when I was doing my Ion video, but it just makes sense, to run a weapon that size, especially an energy weapon, it does make sense to have 3. For the Inferno, though, I feel like they could have gotten away with 2, or maybe just like 1 size 3 cooler instead of 3 size 2, so that's interesting. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and change these out as well. Now, these, you don't really need to. The Arctics are fine. You can go with the Avalanches if you want super good cooling, then you can go with the Snowpacks. They honestly are not going to make a big difference. I'm just going to go with the Avalanches just because that's usually what I get. But honestly, guys, do not waste your money here. Especially if you're very short on funds, if you just want to pimp it out completely, hell yeah, get the Snowpacks, go nuts. But if you are short on funds, the most important things that you can get is going to be the shields. The power plants are relatively important. I would say you should definitely prioritize the shields and then the quantum drive, the power plants, and then of course last is the coolers. So speaking of the quantum drive, though, we have a size 2 crossfield in here, and again, very similar to the Ion as we were looking at last week. The crossfield is just fine, and that doesn't mean you can use it for a bit and then upgrade. It's like no, really, like it's actually fine. It's totally fine. It's good. When I say fine, it actually means fine. So I would keep this, honestly. It's pretty damn good. Personally, because I want to have all the best stuff, I usually upgrade. In my case, my Inferno actually still has the crossfield on it. I do have an XL1 on my Ion, so if you are going long distances and you want to get there fast, the XL1 is good, but it is going to be quite a bit more pricey, and then beyond that, you're also going to be chewing through quite a lot more fuel as well, which will eat into your cost as well, at the expense, of course, of getting you there much quicker. So if you want to save some money on the fuel and you don't mind taking your time getting to where you're going, the crossfield is lovely. Otherwise, if you want to get there, lickety split, so to speak, then you want to get yourself the XL1, and Bob's your uncle. And other than that, of course, we do have some paints here. Again, as always, that's subjective. You can go ahead and choose whatever you like. It's nice that we do have quite a few paints, although, honestly, then CIG, if you're watching this, please, guys, at least have your paints, that you sell in the RSI store, have them for like half the time that you have the ships before the ships go on sale in the game, and then just sell them in the game. I mean, I don't see any reason why somebody would want to pay $15 or whatever for a skin. It's just silly. I know that's something a lot of other games do. You guys don't have to do that, okay? You're already getting the majority of our money, and this is a bit of a tangent, by spending a bunch of money on IAE and ILW and all the other days in between. Help us out here, guys. Just make the skins available after 3 months after you launch them. Give it 3 months and then put them back in the game. Let us buy them with UEC. Let me know what you guys think if you're with that in the comments down below. But that's gonna do it, ladies and gentlemen, and that is your Inferno. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you did find it useful or, you know, maybe somewhat entertaining, it would really help me out, and it would help YouTube improve my channel by recommending it to more people. If you just hit the like button down there to let everybody know that you found it helpful, enjoyable, entertaining, whatever. Of course, also subscribe if you're brand new around here. We'd love to have you, and ring the bell to not miss any videos in the future. I post videos weekly here, so we'd love to see you back. I do also stream Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. Would love to see you guys there. We usually have a great time. We do some giveaways during the month as well, which is also nice. We do community-based giveaways, which is great, and we do have a wonderful community there and on Discord. So if you'd like to join us, the links for those will be in the description below. And I very much hope to see you guys in the next video.